Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I thought I would kind of break down a little bit of my own personal goals because I mean it's January. Everyone's setting their goals. They're talking about what they're going to do with their fitness, their training, everything else. So I thought I would break down a little bit of what I'm going to do in the early part of the year. So let me put on my +5 out of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. And I've had these DEXA scans to really analyze a lot of data, and I think moving forward for a bit, I want to regain the little bit of muscle that I've lost, and I need to continue to get leaner. So I think for me, adjusting my training a little further at the end of January, I think through January, I'm going to have a really busy January. I've got a lot of stuff going on. A lot of people probably figured out, like my videos are sometimes like a week ahead. All right, some of these videos I'm filming were filmed 5 or 6 days ago. I've got a lot of stuff kind of going on in January, so I'm going to have days where I'm not going to be able to film. I'm going to have different things I'm doing. So my life's going to be a little hectic through this month. So I'm going to kind of keep the training the same through most of this month. And I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to ease into, and I've been thinking about this for a while, I think I need a little more total training volume. I think I need a little more total training volume while I continue to cut, which means I need to slow my cut down just a little bit. We don't need to lose a pound every week. I can probably cut the weight loss in half, regain a little bit of muscle while I do so, which means on the next DEXA scan, I don't necessarily need to hit 200 on the dot. I hit 205, 206, 207, but gain muscle. Try to gain a couple pounds of muscle if possible. A couple pounds, alt muscle memory, while seeing at least 7 or 8 pounds of weight loss on the scale. That's going to be a substantial shift in body composition. So I think that's kind of the direction I want to go. And the other reason for that, I want to keep my metabolic rate as high as possible, right? I don't want to be cutting down to 2,500 calories and crap like that. So that's what invariably happens with muscle loss. So what I want to do, keep that moving forward. My training is going to be what I would consider to be, for me personally, fairly hypertrophy oriented, which means I want to optimize my training volume workloads. I mean, I'm still going to be working with fives because I think that is kind of that sweet spot. So I'm kind of thinking about, at that point, going to a push-pull. Not upper lower because I think push-pull is better. I'm going to work my squats, normal squats and deadlifts back in. Now that I'm rehabbing my lower back, I might start doing like the hip thrust as a serious exercise. Been messing with them a little bit with lightweight on my off days and stuff just to kind of get the technique down, but I'll probably start progressing on it and continue to move the scale down. So I think what I need to do with that is pay attention to all those things, pay attention to my workloads, avoid exercise variations in the way that I think contributed to my injuries, keep my dietary fat a lot higher, right? I feel like when I did pull my record, I was also at a point in my training where my dietary fat was too low. And I think that there's pretty good data on that. We know from looking at athletes that fat intake, low fat intake is heavily correlated with higher injury rates in athletes. Absolutely correlated. There's been studies looking at that. And it seems to have to do with recovery and connective tissue and possibly connective tissue and ligament recovery and things. Seems to be a factor. And possible dietary deficiency. So I'm going to need to make sure my diet's on point with that. I'm probably going to run a little bit more fat, a little less carbs. I need to keep my protein pretty high. Doesn't mean I'm going to be doing a keto diet, but I am going to be doing a lot more fat. So I'm going to be running a fairly high-fat diet. It's not going to be sitting around eating steak and stuff, though. It's going to be a lot of nut butters, things, peanut butter, things like that. Continue to do my fasted stuff, my intermittent fasting every day, my fasted training, all of that, and push into a 4-day-a-week training setup. And I think that's what I need to do again. I get good results in the past with 4-day-a-week. And because I'll be running a slightly smaller caloric deficit, I'll probably be able to handle slightly higher training volumes, particularly as long as I make sure my diet's on point, sleep is on point. So it's really going to be about maximizing my workload. So again, exercise selection is going to matter. I think at that point, I'm probably going to swap out any sort of chest presses with a barbell for weighted dips. I feel like it's a better overall exercise for muscle fiber recruitment through the body. So I need to be maximizing these things. So it's probably going to be a focus on, I'm going to do high bar squat. I'm going to use the technique I've been doing with the front squat to carry over back to high bar. So my push days are probably going to be weighted dips, high bar squat, and the press. My pull days are probably going to be weighted pull-ups, conventional deadlift. All right, conventional deadlift, hip thrusts. I might throw some cheat curls back in. And the reason for that, I feel like every muscle in my body is going to need at least 2 exercises, right? 2 exercises, which is basically going to be like 20 sets per week. Because if I end up doing like a 5x5 on each lift, other than the deadlift's going to get lower volume. I'll work on just peak sets. It's going to do beltless hook grip. Everything's going to be beltless training for the most part, I think. Everything will get at least 2 exercises with direct work, and that's what it is. This is direct work. That's my definition of direct work. Squat is direct work for your quads, right? The only thing it's not going to get to is going to be my lats if I do it this way. People are like, what do you mean? Because lats get so much work. Like, my back would be massive if I never did a row or a pull-up. I don't have to do that stuff. For me, the overhead press, the deadlift, the squat, all that stuff builds my back. So because I'm doing all that, I think honestly 10 sets of weighted pull-ups a week would probably be enough to maximize my back growth beyond that. I don't think it's going to be an issue. And I think just for me, the cheat curls, just to get a slightly different angle to work the biceps. And the only reason is because, again, internet aesthetics, people want you to have big arms. Biceps are my weakness, they're a big weakness for me. My triceps are going to be getting an enormous amount of work. Between weighted dips, the standing press, and dead hang pull-ups, which also work the long head, I'm not worried about that. I just feel like the biceps might get a little shortchanged. But everything else is pretty much going to have at least 2 exercises hammering it if I do it that way, particularly with the hip thrust. And I feel like the lower mass gains will be more substantial because that's where I lost muscle on that first DEXA scan. I still haven't regained that. In other words, when we saw that second DEXA scan, what happened? I gained muscle in the upper body, lost muscle in the lower body, particularly in my right leg. So I feel like I need to bring the lower body back up. That means ideally, what do we want to see? I mean, I need to gain 2 or 3 pounds of muscle in my lower body again. And as far as goals go, I mean, obviously we want to be under 200 pounds by the end of the year. I don't need to be 200 pounds in the first third of the year. Do I need to be 200 pounds probably by the summer? Yeah. And we also get to the point of sport-specific training. People are going to be like, why are you going to pull the bench press out? Because I don't need it if I don't have a powerlifting meet coming. And I honestly feel like if my weighted dips are super strong and my press is super strong, I can throw the bench press back in 10 to 12 weeks, be ready for a meet, right? That's not going to be a problem. And the bench press doesn't matter at a powerlifting. That's going to piss people off. It doesn't matter. The bench press doesn't contribute to your total that much. Benching is about setting records in the bench, and it's about bringing your total up. It's squats and deadlifts that win powerlifting meets. It really is. That's what wins meets for you. Bench press gives you something to do so you can recover between the max effort lifts on the 2. That's how I view the bench press, because I'm not the best at it because I have long arms. So for me, it's not a big deal. I mean, if I walk into a meet in a sub 200 pound master's class, look, if I walk into a meet again and I only bench 315 or 320 or 330, and I do it with a closed grip, and it gets me to the deadlift, I don't care. I really don't. Because you start looking at records and things, the records would be out of my reach anyways. Even American records. Texas state record for my class would be so far out of my reach. But you start looking at things like squats and deadlifts, those aren't going to be that hard for me. Like, I'm going to be a lot closer to national and world records on those, like well within 100 pounds of them. Well within 100 pounds of them, or a lot closer in some cases with a little bit of work. So, not really a big deal. Not really a big deal. Those are going to be where my focus would be if I want to jump back in and do a meet later. So in the meantime, because I don't have any meets on the books, I don't have a meet scheduled for this coming year. I will eventually do some again. It's just not something I need to focus on right at this moment. I need to optimize my body composition, and that's going to come by my overall workload. And again, I'm going to be sticking with relatively low reps. I'm going to be sticking to close to 5s. But I need to make sure that every muscle in my body gets sufficient volume so that we can, again, maximize body composition, get the diet on point, keep moving these things forward. And I think that's really where the money's going to be. And I don't mean the money just as in the YouTube money. I mean the YouTube money too. Yeah, if I get a lot leaner and I bring my arms up a little bit and my delts up a little bit, and lose another 15 pounds of body fat, sure, that'll help my YouTube money tremendously. But it's already pretty decent. So that would help it, but a lot of it has to do with, as far as athleticism, health, all my long-term goals. I think that's just the direction I need to go for now. And a lot of it's going to need to be focused on injury prevention. That's why, again, I'm looking at more stuff like things like the hip thrust. That's why I'm going to be looking more closely at my diet, watching for dietary deficiencies, including things like fat-soluble vitamins, essential fatty acids, all that stuff. Those things need to all be on point. They need to be perfect. They need to be perfect. Moving forward, they really need to be, if I want to stay injury-free, recomp a bit, regain a little bit of muscle, regain some strength, continue to drop body fat up here in my 40s. Those are things that have to be paid very, very close attention to. So I'm just going to monitor all that a little closer, but just giving people a little bit of an idea of my possible game plan. That's where I'm going to go. We're not going to see any major changes in January, probably until maybe the end. I need to keep rebuilding certain things, get those movement patterns down. Again, some detraining has happened in my lower body and lower back, and we're starting to sort all that with the pull and everything. So we need to get it all sorted, and then we'll ease back into the back squat. We'll ease back into the conventional deadlift and get all this other stuff going. And again, go back to maybe that movement pattern type split, which would be a push-pull for me. So I think that's the direction I want to go with it, because people are curious. People have asked, hey, what am I doing? What am I going to work with this year? Long term, though, I mean, what we like to see by the end of the year? I'd like to see a 225 press at under 200 pounds body weight. I'd like to see a hook grip 600 deadlift at a sub 200 pound body weight. Those are what I'd like to see. The squat, I really don't know. I don't know. I haven't been under 200 pounds while squatting heavy and so long that I'm not really sure where I'm going to be able to take that. That's going to be, I'm just going to do the best I can with it. But as far as deadlifts, the press, those things, I think that's kind of some stuff I do want to see this year. So we're going to keep working towards that. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.